This is Devin Galladay of Love and Kabbalah, of the Mystical Solutions to Modern Love. Today, I am actually standing at the resort of Sri Rati, just outside of Ubud in Bali. And so this is their temple here. This is also going to be the site of our 17th wedding that we're going to be bringing to you in the upcoming weeks. But we're getting married here tomorrow, May 8th at 4 o'clock Bali time. My wife Morgana and I. It should be a lot of fun. But I wanted to at least kind of share with you a little bit of a recap from last time, which was where we were talking about the 5 love and relationship savers. Last week we discussed responsibility and the idea that it wasn't a chore, but really the responsibility within a relationship of owning your stuff. Very, very important. We also talked about the idea of Kether, the very top of the tree. As a matter of fact, I went all high tech with you this week. So over here we were talking about Kether, the very top of the tree. We also talked furthermore the God name, Eheye, meaning I am that I am, and we talked about its state of beingness, sort of the idea that if you took the acorn and you didn't plant it, but knowing that that acorn contained all the genetic material, all the information, all the possibility for that acorn to become the giant oak. So really exciting stuff. People consider it to be a little bit of a void. Well, it is a void where it can breed into something. In other words, something coming out of nothing. The continuing of the Ziran Pin, or pardon me, of the Ein Sof. So great stuff. This is Devin Galladay, and welcome. I think this is our 19th podcast. Actually, it's the 20th. We had Cliff Tuff as an interview last time, but this time we're going to, well, first off, let me just say we are at Sri Rati, which is a great resort just outside of Ubud. As a matter of fact, it's walking distance, and I am standing at the site of where we're going to get married at their temple, their Hindu temple, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, May 8th at 4 p.m. It's going to be our 17th wedding, Morgana and myself, where, of course, every week on this show, just as we will tomorrow during the wedding vows, we are going to be talking about love. So anyway, to do a quick recap, we talked about the 5 love and relationship savers. Last week we talked about responsibility, not so much in like take out the garbage and do your chores, although those are lovely things. Really more importantly, we talked about the idea of really owning your stuff within a relationship. Don't get defensive, slow down, and it's okay to be a flawed human being. We also talked about the notion, ready for high tech? Here's high tech. We are talking about, there it is, we're talking about Kether, we're talking about the very, very top of the tree. And we did that yesterday, or pardon me, last week, and we were talking about the divine name that basically translated means I am that I am. So when we talk about Kether, we were talking about a state of being, not something that was an active force. Again, we could go into all kinds of Kethery things, but the important thing to understand is that we're talking about complete unity in sort of like the space of a void that will allow sort of like all the power of the divine to come through it. And matter of fact, we are going to talk more about that second emanation in a few minutes. But before we do that, let's get to this week's topic. Ooh, do you hear that? Yeah, we're in Bali. I love this. So before we do that, we were going to talk about the second love and relationship saver. This means this is something, if you're not in a relationship, really get a hold of this thing and do something with it. So when you get into your next relationship, you're prepared to follow through and have a great long-lasting love affair with the person that you are going to be with. Or this is a great way to fix your relationship. So step 2 of the things that you need is honesty. And I know that sounds really obvious and really clear, but there's always a place in us like, okay, I'm not going to lie about some big things. Maybe I can be honest about that, but there's a lot of little things I may not want to have to kind of tell the truth about. It may be family history, it may be prior relationships, it may be one of a million other things. Like we'll have all of a sudden, like, I'll be honest until I run into this wall of stuff that I'm just not going to tell the truth about that. It's precisely those things that in terms of Kabbalistic approach that you actually want to just march through the wall. You know, it's okay to have fear. We all have it. That's by design, but this is a great place to walk through it. And it's kind of easy. You just tell the truth and see what happens. The reality is the vast majority of us have fears, and we play out things in our head of all the negative, terrible outcomes that could happen if I do tell the truth. The vast majority of the people I speak with never have these things come to pass. It's just the fear, it's the thing that plays over and over in our heads that we never get to that next point. So, whether you are in a new relationship or an old one, get really honest, tell the truth, talk about your history, talk about your fears, and allow that other person to come be your hero or your heroine. That will help you get to the next level of relationships, love, happiness, joy, freedom, all that kind of great stuff. It's wonderful when you are in a relationship with somebody that you know that you can just be honest. I, as I've said many times, am a man of little faith, but I am a man with a lot of experience because I've walked through all those fears myself, and getting to the other side is truly an exciting point. So this week, we are going to talk about the next sphere. Look at that. Oop, there we go. Can you see that? That is Chokmah, the second sphere. I even drew a little fancy arrow to it. Again, we're getting all high tech here. And so what we are focusing on is the second sphere. And there's a whole lot of ways to look at it. And remember, if you are checking out the stuff that we're doing with the Tree of Life, I'm giving you teeny bits to get started and something to be enthusiastic for. So either you can come away with understanding between sort of like the top of the tree and the bottom and how giving and receiving works and why you should be in a relationship, but more importantly, how each sphere kind of colors and transmutes our thinking and experience in terms of being a human. So Chokmah means wisdom. When we talk about wisdom, we're talking about sort of like conscious intellect. In other words, things where we are stopping and we're weighing the pros and cons, which is really what wisdom is all about. We come to conclusions after really taking a look at information that comes into us. You'll notice that this idea comes very near the top of the tree, so it's really important stuff. Most people don't necessarily utilize, shall we say, wisdom to their utmost ability. We mostly fall back on what our reactions are and easy decision making. Wisdom has to do a lot more with really taking your time and being conscious of all the things that come in and out of your life. Another way I like to look at it is that if you'll notice on this whole thing, I'll draw back just a little bit. We're getting all high-tech again by pulling back. Hello, my nose. Over here, we're talking about the pillar of mercy. So it's the thing that gives. So you can look at Kether as sort of like the acorn that contains everything. And you can look at Chokmah as sort of like, well, you can look at it as, here, you can look at it as the blank page, that it has the potential to be anything because it has every reason to give. In other words, when we talk about this pillar of mercy, this highest form of it, we're talking about giving all the love and divine energy of God, of your highest self, whatever it might be. And ultimately, when I talk about this highest self, this is for people who are maybe atheist or have agnostic points of view, but it's all about sort of like the divine energy of God, its full potency kind of raining down upon you. And that's in part because there's no reason not to give. So when you think of Chokmah, think of the sort of like the divine energy coming down and looking at it almost as a through point, as sort of like a tube where the energy comes and goes without any problems because there's no reason not to. We're still very, very much dealing with the ideas of unity and oneness. Obviously, the further down the tree, the more fragmented ideas and concepts become, and so we're going to get there. Next week, we're going to talk about Binah. We're going to talk more about the 5 love and relationship savers. And so thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate the special moment that we're having out here in Bali. We're going to keep you posted to wedding number 17 and I think country number 14, 13? Hard to remember. Anyway, there is love in the air. And so thanks so much for being with us, and we will look forward to talking with you soon. Oh yeah, and as always, devingallaudet.com. Feel free to write me your questions about love or relationships and mystical solutions, spiritual solutions to modern love. Thanks so much for joining us.